isn't actually the duty of this House to surrender parliamentary government to government by Parliament. And in fact, that is well established in our constitutional arrangements. And furthermore, any attempt by shenanigans to attempt to rearrange the procedures to give private members' bills an advantage over government business itself is reprehensible for that very good reason. But anyway, I want really to turn to another question, which is to do with the issue of the control over laws, because I think it is very, very important for every member of this House to ask themselves whether they would be prepared to tell their constituents that under this withdrawal agreement that we would be expected, in fact we would be required by an Act of Parliament to surrender control over our laws under Article 4 of the withdrawal agreement. And if people haven't had the time or perhaps the opportunity to read Article 4, may I suggest that they do so, because to do otherwise would be utterly and completely irresponsible.
My friend, give way.
Yes, of course.
One of my friends making an excellent speech. If we don't have control of our laws, we don't have control of our country. Is that not right?
That is completely right, and that is what we are actually here for. We are not here just to voice our own opinions or to fragment into factions and then to impose views on other people by virtue of deals that are done across the floor of the House. We are elected on manifesto commitments, and we have an obligation to our constituents to make laws in their interests, not in ours. And therefore I would suggest that looking at Article 4 was extremely important indeed. I accept that it is said that it would only be through the implementation period, but that in itself would put us at the mercy of our competitors, trade unionists, workers.
I'm very grateful to my honourable friend. I think it's actually worse than that, because it's not just the implementation period, it would be for the whole of the backstop, and that would potentially be unlimited, and the European Court of Justice, against our manifesto commitment, would therefore remain the supreme arbiter of our laws in that area.
I'm so glad that my honourable friend has made that point, because I was just about to come on to it, and I don't have to make that point myself, because I'm as much against the backstop as it is, as I am against the Article 4 arrangements, for the reasons that both of us agree about. But the question we have to just grapple with is this. This Article 4 is across all the treaties, all the laws, all the legal positions that have been adopted by the Court of Justice over the last number of years, and it is inconceivable that this House would hollow itself out in such a manner as to preclude itself from being able to control them. I'm chairman of the European Scrutiny Committee. We get these regulations and directives week in, week out. And we've just had one last week, which is intended to aim at turning the veto, the unanimity rule regarding the making of national tax policy, into qualified majority voting. Now, if people really think that that is a minor matter, let them think again what effect that would have on their constituents. And what is further to the point is that our country would be, as I said in my intervention with the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, will be reduced to an undemocratic subjugation to the decisions of 20 other member states. And in fact, not only that, but as I've said just now, it would put us at the mercy of our competitors. In addition to which, in the backstop, it would also have the same effect with regard to the question of state aids. I don't think that businesses who argued so strongly for this transitional period had any idea that under this withdrawal agreement, which emerged from the Chequers deal, which itself was an overturning of the Withdrawal Act, which we passed in June 2018, which had been pre-planned long before that act, was put through royal assent, without any reference to the Cabinet, and in defiance of Cabinet responsibility, that this would be the consequence. So the other thing is, and if we don't control those laws, who will? Well, it'll be the 27 member states. And if you look at a book, for example, a very important book by our former ambassador to Germany, Sir Paul Lever, he is called Berlin Rules, and he says unequivocally that before decisions are taken by the European member states, or indeed by the Council of Ministers, they are cleared with Germany first. He also says it is a German Europe. He's not mincing his words. I certainly give way.
The utter irony of the situation. He moans and complains and chip on the shoulder and grievance about Europe, but the realities of Scotland in the United Kingdom is worse than everything he's saying at the moment. We have a government in charge, a party in charge we've not voted for in 65 years. Yep. The European Union is nothing as bad as what he's going on about here in the UK.
Concede what the honourable gentleman has said for one very good reason. They are part of the United Kingdom, and that is the point. But having said that, so that's my first point. Control over laws, and Article 4 is so offensive. It hollows out this House, it hollows out our democracy, and it actually is something which, on the basis of that alone, one should not vote for this withdrawal agreement. I'd also, as I said in my exchanges with the Shadow Secretary of State for DEXU, I would want to know why anyone would want to undermine the repeal of the 1972 Act, which is the law of the land, which is actually contained in with Section 1 of the Withdrawal Act itself. And I'd also like people to be honest enough, those who wish to rejoin the European Union, and I include my right honourable friend, the member for, a learned member for Beaconsfield, who wants to rejoin the European Union. Why on earth would anyone want to rejoin this European Union when the whole of the European Union itself is in complete and total implosion, and at the same time they're voting with their feet. They're voting with their feet. They are voting with their feet in so many countries, including Italy. So, in a nutshell, I'd simply say I do think that the withdrawal agreement is deeply flawed, and we ought to vote against it. And I also believe that the decision at the moment, which as I understand it, has not been concluded, is that those amendments are going to be withdrawn. But I look forward to the member for...